Welcome to Computex 2025 Day 3. Let's go find the coolest tech.
We started our day off with the Corsair suite, and honestly, they were showing off some showstopper style cases, including their brand new Air 5400 that won so many different awards from so many different publications, it's insane. It's probably one of the best rated cases from the entire show. See, what's different about this case rather than what you may expect it to be is although it may look like a dual chamber case, it's actually a tri-chamber case. What that means is there's going to be a chamber for your motherboard and GPU, just like a dual chamber case, another one for your power supply and cables like you've seen before, but then a third section that's dedicated for your AIO's radiator. It's mounted up front because the case is a little wider than normal, so that's a 360mm mount. And what happens is, instead of letting that hot air get into the rest of the system, that separate chamber has a ducting vent that actually allows you to direct the air out the back of the case, so it's not even getting to the rest of the system or being dumped anywhere near your GPU. And that paired up with some of the ducting work that they also included in the case, which basically takes the air from those 360mm fans on the bottom and directs it towards the GPU, has resulted in a 6-degree drop when it came to GPU temperatures compared to other cases and without the ducting system. It's a really cool way that they basically have isolated that AIO, preventing it from basically dumping that hot air into the rest of the system, and it also prevents like the GPU's heat that's being dumped into the case to affect the CPU's temperature, which is really cool. Definitely love that. The only concern I had with it is like, is there going to be any problems with mounting third-party AIOs? They said that most of them have about the standard length tubes, and it shouldn't be a problem, but we'll have to see once we get our hands on it. The other two cases that they were showing off that I was pretty excited about had to do with their frame series. They have their 4000D and 5000D. The 5000D is new, and what they were doing here all has to do with cable management, and at least that's the feature that I really liked. See, instead of having a standard motherboard tray, this one is filled with cutouts. Like every couple millimeters, there's another cutout. It kind of gives this like a checkered pattern, and what's cool about it is that all of those are tie down points, which means you can tie down your cables however you need to. You don't have to bunch them up, and you're not dependent on how the case manufacturer is telling you how to run your cables. This is going to give much cleaner looking builds, and it's going to actually be easier to service because you don't have to bunch all your cables up. You can separate them and run them in a much more clean fashion, and I am all for it. I absolutely love that case. The other thing that they were doing with their concept 4000D, because the 4000D has been out for a while, is that they were showing off a concept working with Singularity computers and their power board. If you haven't seen the power board before, basically it's a distribution PCB that distributes the power from the bottom of the case and routes it exactly to where the cables need to connect. So like your 24 pin, 8 pin, and even 12+4 pin, it actually routes the cables through the PCB up right behind the motherboard, and then you have these really short cable runs that look so clean. And what they were showing off here was that they're actually kind of creating this marketplace with their frame series, which is a fully modular case for other creators as well as companies to work together so that they can build this ecosystem of products for you guys. And I absolutely love that, and I just love that there's a lot of options coming to the frame series, and it's not something that's just going to die out. I'm super excited about that. And if you're going to talk about cases, Corsair is not the company that you actually come to Computex for. It's Inwin, because Inwin always shows out, and this year, for their 40th anniversary, well, they stepped it up. Meet the Chronommancy. It's a full aluminum case that's got some tricks up its sleeve. It's designed to mimic the Olympic torch, and it features things like this acrylic panel up top that basically has etched in Inwin's headquarters, as well as a bunch of cases that they've made over the years, including the S-frame. But what's really special about this case is that it comes with a wand, and with just a flick of the wrist, all of a sudden you can actually open up the case with the wand. It's definitely a little bit of a gimmick, but yeah, it was so cool. And just seeing this case open and the mechanical feature of how that works was just so beautiful. It's this vertically mounted case, and it's just a true showpiece. I think they said it weighed like 130 pounds without a system inside of it, which is crazy, but it's definitely really cool and something that, honestly, you only see at a show like this. That will probably never hit the market. It'll probably be a couple of them get made, a couple show systems, but other than that, just to see what they can do is always so special. So after stopping by Inwin to take a look at that case, I went over to Gigabyte Suite where they were showing off a ton of their latest hardware, including the fact that they're bringing back their Stealth motherboards, which is I was so excited about. So that's their rear connect motherboard, so their competitor to BTF and Project Zero. And what they were doing with these boards was pretty cool. They have these very nice white boards that look really, really clean, and I think the effect that they're going for is really good. But what kind of set them apart is the fact that their Stealth GPUs. So they have a 5090 Stealth. And instead of using like the connector that goes directly into the motherboard, I've showcased this in a short that Asus was showing off where they have the BTF connector where it goes into the motherboard and that does the power delivery. What they did is they actually moved the 12+4 pin high power connector, and actually instead of putting it on the side of the card, they put it on the back, and with a little bit of routing, it actually tucks it away in just the perfect way where you don't even realize the cable's there, even though you don't have to do any kind of trickery or you don't have to jump up the cost to have some kind of like rear connect motherboard. So it just kind of gives you this idea of like this very clean aesthetic. And what I loved is that you don't have to use that GPU with that stealth look in a stealth motherboard. You could use that on any system that you want because that connector is just standard. That's really cool, and huge props to Gigabyte for making that possible. They were also showing off some motherboards, specifically their brand new X3D boards, which have been optimized for the 9000 generation X3D's processors. And they were saying that with a built-in boost clock that they have, they were getting about a 15% increase in performance in games, which is pretty cool. I think they're just basically optimizing some of the clock speeds, and because they know a little more consistency with these X3D processors, these particular boards are gonna actually allow you to get even better performance. We'll have to see what games that actually goes into and how well it translates, but if that's true, it may be worth to actually spend that little extra if you're gonna go for an X3D processor. Speaking of AMD, I got to go check out their suite as well today, and the main thing I got to see was their Threadripper Pro 9995WX. That's a 96 core, 192 thread processor. That thing absolutely rips some threads, and honestly it was just amazing to see what that looked like. You know, they were just showing off a couple demos, didn't really have a whole, a lot of time to actually like play around with it, but it was pretty cool what they were showing off. And the other thing that was pretty interesting is I got to take a look at the die of a 9060 XT. So that's a brand new GPU that AMD launched here at the show. So it's $299, $349, 8GB, 16GB. The 16GB is the one that you're going to want to be buying if you can get it, somewhere close to MSRP. But we do need to do some testing on that. But what's kind of cool is that the die size on that GPU is so small. It looked like a laptop GPU, honestly. It was smaller than some of the ones I've seen, and I think that may allow for some really good mobile performance down the road. They didn't say anything about that. Or even brought it up, but I was thinking like if that's how small the die is, there's not a whole lot probably stopping them besides power delivery from putting a pretty full-fledged 9060 XT in a laptop. So back at the showroom floor, I stopped by Cougar, who was showing off their brand new Omni X fully adaptable case. So what's kind of cool about this case is that not only are all the sides modular, we've seen that before, but what they were showing off was something that was kind of cool. So it's like a vertically mounted case, so it's got this cable management that comes out of the bottom. But what I liked was the fact that if you want to have your case on the left side or on the right side, you can have either option, because you have the cable management that can come out either side, but you also have this I/O that can slide across on a rail system that gives you a better connectivity depending on what side you have your case on. So if you have on the right side, you're going to want it closer on this side. You can slide it to the other side if you were going to put it on the left side, just so then that's closer to you. And it kind of gives you this better connectivity for like on either side of your setup. Next to them was Trike, who had a lot of really cool stuff, including their brand new air cooler that they're getting into. It's called their Tourist, and it has about a 5-inch screen. It's a dual tower cooler with 2 fans, and it basically has like a top panel with the top half having the screen. Personally, I think it looks pretty cool, but I would have loved that to see them maybe do like a much larger screen covering the entire top panel. And we'll have to see how like the actual top panel with the heat generated from the LCD panel, if that affects temperatures. Maybe we should do a test with it on, maybe without. But the cool thing is it's only going to be coming in at $99.99, which is pretty competitive when you talk about a top-end air cooler. You're competing with the likes of Be Quiet as well as Noctua. So it's going to have to be a good cooler at that price. But if it competes within maybe 5%, it should actually be pretty cool to have in your build, because you're going to get that LCD effect, but with air cooling rather than water cooling. Speaking of water cooling, another cooler that they were showing off was their brand new stage. So this cooler is pretty interesting. See, instead of doing that like panoramic view that they did last year, and they still have, they're doing this stage build where it's actually two concave 4-inch square panels that give this kind of like 3D effect, because there's also like a mirror on the bottom. And the idea of this is that it kind of gives that 3D effect when you're looking in, but you can also put stuff on the stage to kind of more personalize your build. I think it's kind of a little bit of a gimmick, but it does look pretty cool. And if you get the right graphic, I think you can kind of make this look just as cool as that's like rounded on the, the curvature of their panoramic series as well. Definitely something I want to get in, play around with, and kind of see what it looks like in a full build and see if we can make something pretty cool. Another thing that they were showing off was their brand new Flora case. And what really caught my eye here was how their fan set up. So there's 3 fans up front. Those are standard 120 millimeters, but there's also a cross-flow fan. Cross-flow fans are not something I've ever seen in a PC case before. I've seen them in like laptop coolers, but basically it's a fan where it's actually like, if you kind of think of it like the inside of your vacuum cleaner, you know how the bristles spin really fast? It basically does that. It's like a turbine. It runs really fast in this like vertical orientation, and that sucks in air from the side and then blows that into the system. I thought it was a pretty cool take on a way to actually bring additional air into your system. I think the thing with it is I don't want them to have to charge a ton more for that extra feature. If it's expensive, I think they should leave it out. If it's not too bad, leave it in. But that's really the main thing. I don't want the price to go way up because of it. I like the idea that they're taking advantage of this additional airflow that they can get because of it. But if it's expensive, if I were you, Trex, I'd leave it out. And the other thing that I noticed with this case that I thought was pretty cool was that they did this fabric finish, which to me, the first question I had was, okay, well, this is going to be a pain to clean as somebody who services systems. But guess what? They thought of that. So you just unscrew a couple screws that surround that front mesh panel. Then you can actually take that cloth material off, throw it in your washing machine and wash it with no problem, and then just screw it back on and it'll be perfectly fine. I thought that was such a great way to be able to clean your PC case, unlike anything I've ever seen before. And speaking of something I want to check out, Silverstone is designing a case for the ultimate sleeper build. This is the brand new FLP02, and it's basically an old school finish on the outside with all the modern touches of a new PC case on the inside. So all the modern tooling, the fitment for modern power supplies, modern motherboards, GPUs, and the like on the inside, but on the outside, you just have this beige finish that really, for most people, unless you know, are just gonna think it's just some old PC from 15 to 20 years ago. And I just absolutely love that they're bringing back that look just for that kind of fun aesthetic. And I think I gotta pick one of these up. So another thing I wanted to talk about was that Lian Li was also showing off a new AIO. It's called their Hydro Shift 2 LCD. And it's a panoramic screen, kind of like what Trike's has been showing off for the past year. But what's interesting is that they're going for a motorized approach. It doesn't make a ton of sense if you think about it at first, but there's actually some points to it. It can actually move up and down, and it can even shift from left to right, which actually allows you to adjust the view of what you're looking at, and that's why it's there. This way you can actually optimize where you actually put the screen itself inside of your build, so you can make sure you can see it from your particular vantage point, so you can actually see what you're paying for. Another cool thing is that you could probably have it move and go along with whatever graphic you have. And if you're doing something like that, that also gives you another way to kind of customize the build a step further. Is it a gimmick? Yeah. Is it cool? Absolutely. Speaking of an AIO, I think I found the best budget AIO for BTF builds, which kind of is like an oxymoron because typically BTF boards are pretty expensive and you're spending a lot there. But this one is super clean, and maybe even not for a BTF build, I might want to pick one of these up. It's from ID Cooling, who typically comes out with really good budget coolers. And the one that they were showing off is called their DX360 GDL. And I just love how clean it looked. The tubes are super short and they go straight back up into the radiator, super minimal. And honestly, if you're looking at it from a distance, you can't even see the tubes being run. And I just love the look of that. The pump top is also beautiful, and the best part about all this is that it's only going to cost $120, which for that and BTF products in general is incredible. And then a company that surprised me with one of the coolest PC cases at the entire show was Geometric Future with their Model 9. They were showing off this case and this thing was absolutely incredible. It's got this beautiful tempered glass front panel, and then on the back side it's all milled aluminum, and the quality and craftsmanship of this system was second to none. They said that just to make the back panel cost 8 hours in a mill, and then another about 5 hours to go ahead and bend that back panel. This is also a tri-chamber case similar to that Air 5400, and I just love the approach that Geometric Future was making with this case. It's a Halo product for sure. It's going to cost somewhere between $300 to $400, but the quality, it's there. And the finish of this case, it's there, and I can't wait to hopefully get my hands on it when it comes out in Q4 of this year. And that PC case was honestly a great way to end my trip. So I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you guys for watching, because you guys made this entire trip possible. So just thank you once again, and I just really appreciate each and every one of you guys. So if you guys want to see more content like this, well, I actually do have another piece of long form content that's going to be coming out soon. I actually visited one of the coolest tech malls in the entire world. They have a Thermaltake store. Tons of really cool stuff. It's one of the best trips I've actually had. So if you guys did enjoy this video and you want to see more, make sure you give this video a like, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.